Nancy Probst, a daughter, a sister, a young mother deeply loved by her family and friends.
I miss her to pieces. I miss her being a mother.
Found brutally slain in her home in Midwest City, Oklahoma, across the hall from her 9-month-old daughter, Lelia, leaving her own mother, Alberta Hemley, deep in mourning.
She's not here. No more phone calls, no more holidays, no more nothing.
To this day, no one has been convicted of the heinous crime that left 32-year-old Nancy Probst lying on the bedroom floor with a .25 caliber bullet in the back of her head. It began when Nancy's husband of 3 years, Matthew Probst, returned home from his job as a mechanic. He would later tell police he was deeply worried about his wife.
He said he cannot reach her by phone all day, and on the way home, he had felt something had happened to her. For the average person, if you can't reach your spouse by phone, that's normally not the first thing that comes to your mind as someone has killed her.
Phone records reveal Matthew called his wife 26 times between 3 and 6 p.m. When he got home, he made a 27th call to 911.
I need a police.
Okay, what's the problem, sir?
Something wrong with my wife. I don't know. I'm afraid to go in the house. It looks like somebody's been in the house. She's laying on the floor in the bedroom. I'm afraid to go in there. I need somebody here.
Okay, sir. I'm going to get them on the way, okay?
My baby's there, too.
Okay, hold on, sir.
To this day, no one has been convicted of the heinous crime. From the moment Detective Sid Porter arrived on the scene, something felt off to him.
Instead of going inside like most people would, he says he goes to the back because he felt something's wrong, looks in the window back there and sees Nancy laying on the floor, and then comes around the front to call 911.
You said she's just laying on the floor?
Yeah.
Have you felt for a pulse?
I haven't even gone in the house.
Okay.
Matthew's reaction to sounds from inside his house baffled cops as well. He chose to call 911 rather than actually enter his home to help his wife and crying 9-month-old.
10 people couldn't have kept me from going inside there and seeing if my family was okay. He made a comment, I didn't want to just burst in up there because there could be someone inside holding a gun to the back of her head. Okay, why would you make a statement like that?
Detective Porter noted Matthew's unusual demeanor again when they bring little Lelia out of the house.
He made comments like, well, she must be hungry because she hasn't eaten all day. Well, he had left around 7 o'clock that morning. How would he know when she ate or when she didn't eat or when the time of the homicide occurred?
Police dug deeper into Matthew's story only to find more red flags.
I did ask him about why he did not go into the house initially, and his reasoning was he didn't want to contaminate the crime scene if there was one.
Police found no evidence of forced entry, robbery, or sexual assault, and no gun was recovered. A blind on a front window was hanging loose, and they found Nancy partially dressed with a TV cable laid across her back.
It wasn't wrapped around her, but it was laid over her. My opinion, and others too, the crime scene was staged.
The lights in the bedroom were out, which cast even more doubt on Matthew's story.
When he saw his wife through the window, I don't believe that with the lighting on in the house the way it was that he could saw the detail that he reported.
Private investigator Tammy Kahn, hired by Nancy's family, believed the killer was clearly enraged.
She had a busted lip, her face was black and blue, she had numerous contusions on her body, and her hair had been pulled out. There had been a really violent struggle.
Then detectives discovered disturbing details about Matthew's private life.
The day of the murder, he'd had sexual relations with the lady while he was at work, and then several weeks after the homicide, he had sexual relations with the same lady inside the house where Nancy was killed. Does that make somebody a murderer? Absolutely not. Is it inappropriate and unusual? Yes.
Police interviewed Matthew at the station the night of the murder and asked him to come back the next day. He agreed initially, but never showed up.
Called him back and I learned that he had obtained an attorney and he was told not to come in. So we did not do a polygraph.
As the man of the house, your wife's dead. You have a child that's not going to have her mother. I want to find out who did this. And getting an attorney and then not talking to the police anymore is not a way I would be going about that.
But this story is far from over. Police had their suspicions, but would Matthew's attorney put a spoiler on the entire case?
He said, well, I'll dismiss on your client today if you'll go take it and pass the polygraph. And I told him to go to hell.
Nancy's husband, Matthew Probst, wasn't the only person cops eyed after she was found brutally murdered in their home.
His brother had also lived in the house earlier. We talked to his brother. We focused on him. We checked other areas if any other crimes could have possibly been related to this. There'll be some people try to say that we just focused completely on him and no one else, and that's incorrect.
But when detectives added up all the circumstantial evidence, Matthew became their prime suspect. Detectives put together a lengthy affidavit and took it to the district attorney.
We have found nothing outside, anything indicating anybody inside the residence from any other person except Matthew Probst at this time.
Nancy's 9-month-old daughter, Leah, was taken in by her brother, Brian, and his wife at the time, LaRae. In the weeks leading up to Matthew's arrest, he stopped by a few times for dinner.
He'd mooch supper off of us and then he'd leave. One night he bought pizza.
He might have brought one thing of diapers too.
Matthew had little contact with his daughter, and the family claims he's offered almost no support. Eventually, they adopted Leah with little resistance from Matthew.
He did not want that baby to begin with.
Because he already had 2 children that he couldn't afford to take care of. He didn't want another one to support.
Then, nearly 5 months after Nancy was found shot in her home, Matthew was finally charged with her murder and sat behind bars awaiting trial, while her family and friends mourned and hoped for resolution.
It was a time to breathe, to actually, okay, it's finally going to come out now.
But meanwhile, Matthew's attorney, Irvin Box, went to work chipping away at the police affidavit.
From the standpoint of looking at evidence, after I saw all what they had, they didn't have anything.
If the prosecution brought their case to a jury too soon in a circumstantial case and the jury acquitted Matthew, there would be no second chance to retry him.
We've never done what he did. But still, what shows he committed the crime?
And that was exactly the problem. After 13 agonizing months of court hearings and delays, Nancy's family was stunned when the district attorney's office dropped the case, and Matthew Probst went free.
I was hoping to find out some answers. I was wanting to get to the bottom of this.
Police were disappointed too, but remained clear on one thing. All these years later, Matthew Probst is still a suspect in the killing of his wife.
I've seen things out here in my career from other communities and states that have had less circumstantial evidence than what this does. It's hard for me to believe that he has no involvement whatsoever in this case.
And they aren't giving up on searching for evidence.
There's some things that has recently come up that I cannot talk about evidence-wise that I think is going to be hard for him.
While asked what message Nancy's parents have for their former son-in-law,
I would probably be the first suspect if he got killed.
I can't explain why it's taken so long for the person who did this horrible act to Nancy is still out there walking. I can't explain why Matthew Probst would not talk to us and come in, but someday we're going to know.